Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How is everybody doing this warm Tuesday afternoon here in bright and sunny Elk Grove, California? Right now am in my kitchen looking at one of my wife's centerpieces here in the corner. And I'm here to have a discussion about something different. I'm here to change the narrative for the moment in the day. And what does that mean for those of you who are listening beyond this first 30 seconds? If you're vegan, you might not want to watch. If you have issues with meat products, you might not want to watch. So go ahead and tune out and check out here. But if you're interested, you're curious to find out that beyond the politician, beyond the rhetoric of a military person or anything else like that, it's just a regular human being like you and I, individual just trying to make it through life, make sure that the family's taken care of, the bills are paid, and everything's going along smoothly so that we can retire in peace and our kids can grow up and deal with the madness that the world is going to present them in good enough time. So I wanted today to do something that was not political, other than the fact that to remind you, yes, I am running as a candidate, Republican side, for governor in 2026, now that that is out of the way. You can, of course, like, subscribe, donate, go to my webpage, leonaranjo4governor.com. And we're looking for at least 1.2 million of you to chip in $1. $1. That'll make things happen, and that'll move some mountains. And believe me, it will move some mountains because Jesus is on my side. God is standing with me, and I'm not worried about what the detractors say. With all the plugs now out of the way, let's move on to the topic at hand. What is that, you might say? Let me give you a pause to show you. So looking over my kitchen, I wanted to be able to show you a little concoction that I drafted up long ago that seems to turn out very well. You can either utilize chicken, you can utilize steak. I myself use London broil, which I purposely purchase in the commissary. If you're lucky enough to go there, by all means do so. Use those benefits that you served for. That's why they are there. Support the morale, welfare, and the resources for our troops. And if not, your local store, look for the best beef that you have, not necessarily fatty, not necessarily too much gristle on it. I don't like gristle, so I actually cut that portion off and out often. And this is what you basically need to do and what you should have. Cutting board, a couple of good knives, some steak or chicken, your choice. I use breasts, chicken breasts. I'm going to use baby carrots in this example. Green, orange, yellow, and red peppers. Green onions, which I've sliced and diced already, generally about 1/8 of a size. You can go on size any which way you like. It's all up to you, however you wish to make it. A wok for everything, and pause. So some of the other key ingredients that you might want to try with this, and again, this is something that I cook up. Not the greatest chef in the world by all means, but the Army taught me enough and my mom informed me enough at least to get by to cook for myself in emergency if need be. You can use whatever ingredients you see fit to use. You can even exclude meat if that's your desire to do so. But what I use is onion powder, garlic powder, teriyaki sauce. Akumi is the choice in the brand that I take from Kikkoman. It does have pre-sesame seeds, if you can see on the bottom there. And that's about a quarter of a bottle left. A little bit of sea salt, fine type. Sesame seeds, which I put on my own because I like the extra. Black pepper, you can also use crushed pepper if that's your choice. You can use chili pepper, whatever floats your boat. When you make up your wok concoction, as I call it, you do as you do. And the last ingredient, which I do not have here, is a rice ingredient. You can use whatever rice you want, sticky rice, jasmine rice, long rice, short rice, just as long as you use a rice product. I'll probably be cheap and lazy, and I'll use minute rice just because it's fast and expedient for the purposes of this video. And then once you make everything, you put it all together, you should have an interesting meal, which if you use a full steak or a full chicken breast, maybe two, depending on how you slice and dice it, should last you up to 3 or 4 days for the week. Definitely will feed a family of 4, depending how you portion it out. You may or may not like what's getting fixed. It definitely will raise your eyebrows. So let me give you a pause as I catch up to where I need to be. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut up some carrots, baby carrots in this case. You can use fresh carrots if you so desire. Again, this is anything that you want for your purposes. Depends how much you want, depends on how many you need. If you want to use some eggs in this concoction, you can also do that as well. I don't, just for ease and purposes for this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slice these up, and I would recommend no bigger than 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch at the outmost. You can use whichever size you want. That's just what I choose to do. And I put a lot on there, not that I'm going to use all of them, because let's face it, while you're cutting things up, it's always good to snack on a carrot here or there. And a few of these are not going to make it in the pan as they are into my mouth as I get proceeding and started. So let me go ahead and crack these out real quick, and then we'll pick up when that's finished. So because I'm using a Teflon wok, you have to make sure that you don't use any hard silverware, any spoons or anything like that. Use plastics. I know people have aversions to plastics, but you don't want to ruin your wok or any other cooking device that you're doing. So this is just to give you an idea and a sample. Carrots, green onions, and now we're going to start on slicing and dicing the red, yellow, orange, and green peppers, the bell peppers. You can pick any combination that you want. All green, all orange, all yellow, all red, mix a couple, mix 3. Whatever suits your fancy. It's your option. Great thing about this particular type of meal is you set whatever it is you wish to do to cook it. I'm just going to show you a little bit of an example of how I do mine and what the end result looks like. So I always wash the vegetables, whether they need it or not, just to ensure there's nothing left on them. I definitely wash the peppers, and don't forget to remove the sticker because sometimes they pop it in there. To make sure that everything is fresh, good to go, etc., etc. Carve out the seeds, carve out the middle, carve out the portions like the stem. What you are not going to want to chew on as you're eating this, or the seeds, which you do not want to utilize. I've already got half of one here because I used this on another half, screwed up the video, and that's why you didn't see the outcome of that one. So this is a pickup of where I had before. The salted peanuts are from Texas Roadhouse. Yes, that's a shameless plug, sorry. They're not included in this mix. So give me a couple of minutes to whip these up really quick, and then we'll pick up from there. Okay, sorry for that. So here we are. You can cut up these veggies any way you want to. Leave them all long-wise, leave them short-wise, make them thin, make them thick. Excuse me. You can run them in quarters, you can run them in eighths, you can run them in half, or you don't have to slice them at all. Just make them big, long strips. Great thing about this meal is it is however you choose or desire to make it. This makes it so fun to make these type of dinners for folks. They're quick, they're easy, they're simple, they don't take much product. Thankfully, if you put everything together, it shouldn't cost you any more than about $30, $40 to make in total. Most of that's going to be the cost of your meat, your ingredients, depending on where you buy them at, the goodies here that you're going to utilize, which I'll start here in a minute, not including the gas or the time or anything else like that, or the pots or the utensils. So anywhere from 30 to 40 for a meal. You're going to pay that if you go out to a good dinner and have somebody else make it for you. But this will last you at least 2 or 3 days, definitely. And that's $30 or $40 a meal if you were to go out to a restaurant. So I have here my London broil. That's my choice of steak today in the deep freezer. Yes, it's been out for a little while. I've already washed it off a little bit to get all the old blood off. That's generally what I do with the meats that I utilize. And what you're shooting for is, if you take it out of the freezer or the deep freezer, you're trying to ensure that your meat is a little firm, makes it easier to cut. So I generally take it out of the freezer for a day, put it in the refrigerator, let it sit there, marinate on its own self. And then the next day, prep it all up, get ready to start slicing and dicing. Again, this is one of those factors you can do as you wish, any way you wish. You can make it super thin slices. You can make it thick slices, thick chunks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this puppy in half, maybe in thirds. And then I'm going to slice and dice it up, show you what I'm looking for with the semi-finished product. So hang tight, give me a moment, and I'll be right back. Oops. So as you can see here, I've finished slicing up our London broil. And I've made long strips, but I have also made some short strips. And I've already pre-cut those and thrown them in. Thickness, depending on your taste. I try and get mine as thin as possible. Obviously, I don't get it quite to restaurant standards, but I get it as close as I can. If you like it a little bit thick, you want something to chew on, you can do that. You can take these strips, cut them in half, cut them in thirds, cut them however you wish to do so. Once again, this is your concoction to make and your specialty meal, and you just put your own personal touch to it, and then there you go. This is one of mine. So let me go ahead and add everything in here, and then we'll take off to the next step, which is the seasoning phase, and I'll explain that in a second. Really quick on a side note, when you start to clean up a little bit, thankfully you're not using very many dishes. You just throw everything into the sink and you'll wash that on your own time and your own leisure. What I do, however, for some of the scraps that I've cut off, the packaging and everything else, place it in a plastic bag, make sure it's sealed up really adequately, and pop that puppy in the freezer. Oh, gasp. The freezer? No, it goes in the trash, Leo. Yes, if you want to smell up your house, you want to smell up your trash can, you want to attract all the critters that love meat and meat products, by all means do that. My wife has started me on this thing of putting it in the freezer. Yes, it takes up a little space. However, just before trash day, you can throw it all in the trash. You don't stink up anything in the house, the garbage can or whatever the case might be. It doesn't attract bugs and critters, and therefore everything stays basically clean. All through this process, I highly recommend that you wash your hands constantly and religiously. Don't forget to dry them on towels. When you're playing with the onions and the bell peppers, you might want to wash your hands often. Don't forget to wash off all the soap. And yes, sometimes it may squirt back on you as you're cutting those particular vegetables. If you use more than the 2 onions that I use, I generally try to use about 3 to 4, sometimes 5. It will be very powerful depending on how fresh they are when you purchase them. And you may get a little bit of that back into your eyes. So wash frequently, wash often, wash all your vegetables, no matter how long or where they've been. Just wash them to make sure. And to make sure that you don't have any dried blood on the meat or anything else that was in the package. I generally wash that as well. So again, give me a pause and I'll get ready to start seasoning and we'll take off to the next segment. Many of you women out there are going to be aghast. I am not one of those measuring type individuals. I season to taste, and I season based on what I feel like seasoning with. So right now we're going to add some pepper. I'm not going to add too much of the black pepper stuff. I want it to have a little peppery taste, but you don't want it to be overpowering. Sometimes I do add the cracked black pepper in it, crushed black pepper, excuse me, and I throw in a little bit of a sprinkle of that. If you have kids, they might not like peppery items, so just make sure that you're not heavy-handed with your pepper. A little bit of salt, just to give it some flavoring there. Sprinkle some of that in, not too much. I used to do meat tenderizer before, long time ago through the service. Stopped doing that when I found out what meat tenderizer does to meat. And then what it could be doing to your innards. So we don't do the meat tenderizer thing anymore in the Naranjo household. We do everything other than that. Garlic powder, seasoned to taste. Everything basically is seasoned to taste, whatever amount that you feel is adequate for your purposes. I get a pretty good dosing of it. And then I go into the onion powder. This, of course, is the McCormick version that I'm using. Sprinkle that to taste. I'll sprinkle enough to get at least a little bit of discoloration from the vegetables to the goodies. Give me a pause a second. Kikkoman teriyaki sauce, the Akumi type original. That's what I purchased. This already has sesame seeds in it. And I, right now, have pretty much emptied this bottle into our concoction. Yes. When you start actually cooking this stuff, you're going to have an interesting sauce and the interesting juices that are going to mix in with it. So you don't have to worry about your meat drying out unless you forget that it's on the stove and you let it fry to your heart's content. P.S. There's no frying involved in this. There is some pan searing. And the next thing I do is I use sesame seeds because I like the extra. While the sauce already has some, extra never hurts. And it tastes pretty good. So I do a liberal amount. That word. Sorry. I put a goodly amount of sesame seeds on there to add to my concoction. Don't forget, while you're covering up everything on the top, you're going to eventually end up mixing everything to get it all together into one thing. So give me a second. In today's modern world, energy usage is high on people's mind, especially when you start cooking often. You'll notice a slight increase on your gas bill. No different here. The nice thing about this is there is no pre-cooking involved. No pre-cooking, no preheating, no oven stuff, no nothing. This is straight up heat in what you're going to do. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm mixing up the veggies and all the goodies that we've poured in there. You can, if you so desire. If you think that you overlooked a little bit of pepper, put some more. If you think it might need a little bit more of onion powder, by all means, throw some in there. If you need a little bit more garlic, liberally put your garlic amounts in there, whatever the case might be. A goodly amounts that you can have that taste. You have a really good showing if you taste most everything in your concoction, what I call a concoction. You get everything kind of swirled and mixed. No heat is being applied right now. Don't worry, that's coming. How are you going to do this with the beef? How do you figure it out when it's cooked, when it's not cooked? The goal is to ensure that your meat is cooked very well. It doesn't have to be hard or fried, but it does have to at least be cooked. If you have red portions of your meat that are still there, that's fine. It's no harm, no foul. Chicken is interesting because when you put it in there, it looks kind of wet. By the time you cook it, it looks like white marshmallows. And then, of course, chicken is chicken. You don't have to cook that as long. And you just keep an eyeball on it. So my heat level to start this off goes just a little bit above high, probably around the medium-high setting. And we're going to let this puppy start to fry up and fire up as we do the process. I stand here on the norm and shake and bake it up a little bit. Move the meat around, move the veggies around. You don't want anything to start getting stuck to the pan. That's not a good thing. But you do want to make sure that you mix it up. I used a plastic spoon. Don't forget, we're using a Teflon-based wok here, so we don't want to do anything to scratch or damage the pan. You can use the wooden spoon if you so desire. Those of you that are non-meat lovers, chicken, I've done. Steak, I've done. London broil is my preference, but I will break it down to sirloin if need be. Breakfast steaks if I'm really on the monetary side of pinching my dollars. But I've never necessarily tried this as a vegetable mix. I'm pretty sure you can, for those of you that are non-meat lovers. You can use this with vegetables. Same concept. Throw whatever vegetables you like in there. Just remember, a lot of this is to your taste and to your liking. There's no set plan policy. There's no set ingredient amount to use. You use what you feel like you want to use. If you like red bell peppers, then use only red bell peppers. I do all four for the coloring and just for the texture of the meal. And I let it go from there. What I use with this is I use rice. Again, you can use the sticky rice, jasmine rice, long rice, short rice, grain rice, whatever rice you feel like using. I'm going to be a little cheesy today, and I'm going to use minute rice eventually. I'm not going to do it here and now, however, so we'll cut that portion out. But you can use the rice that you seem fit, your option, your choice. Under the rice, over the rice. I generally do it over the rice. It's a little bit more tastier for me. Salt and pepper as you like when you get your final ingredient. Serve as you like for as large as the portion that you want. Don't forget, rice is filling. And you'll enjoy your meal. So, for the purposes of this video, we're going to let this go on a few more minutes. You'll start to hear some of the sizzling happen as the sauce is cooked in, the meat's cooked in, all the veggies are evened out here. The baby carrots that you have will eventually get soft, yes. And you'll start to see some portions of meat end up getting cooked faster than others. That's normal and natural, don't worry. Stir it often, that's generally what I do and advise. You don't want anything to sit in the pan to get burned. Not to say that you can't leave your pan alone for a few seconds. Generally a minute or two is what I do, if anything. And I just stir it constantly and often. Boop, 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 boop. I'm not going to add anything special today. I think I have enough on the seasoning side of the house for this version of my concoction. Last week's version, I think, was on point, my humble opinion. And the opinion you're going to get, and the opinions of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, whoever it is you give these to, are going to tell you whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And for me, when my granddaughters and grandson come around and they say, Papa Leo, and they hold up a thumbs up, that's like getting a 5-star rating on my cooking skills. Because for those of you with grandchildren, you should know those kids can be finicky. They can be very opinionated if your meal is not prepped up the way they like it. So far, their preference for my cooking is chicken as opposed to steak. I think my granddaughter likes steak. It doesn't matter. She's a meat eater. The other ones, not so much. All of them like chicken. My granddaughter especially loves chicken. And she actually went up to my wife and had to ask her, Grammy, who made this chicken? Because we know you didn't. I still laugh about that. That's funny. Kids can be brutally honest. So as you see here, it doesn't take long for the meat to start getting cooked. Remember, you have done thin slices. If you made the slices a little thicker, because that's what you wanted, that's fine. You just be a little bit longer on the grill, or on the oven, excuse me. You're going to be stirring it around. See a lot of red pieces in there, which means the meat is not cooked yet. No big deal. Push them to the bottom. Let the heat do what it does. Excuse me. Generally, you can, I'd say this takes about 15-20 minutes, maximum 30 minutes for everything to cook, depending on what you utilize. Chicken doesn't take that long. But you can pretty much guesstimate that 30 minutes is going to be on the stovetop, cooking around, cooking and making sure that everything is cooked thoroughly through and through. Like I said, a little red meat in your mix is not a bad thing. You don't want it to be raw meat, however, unless you're one of those type of connoisseurs, like my mom. And you mix this up to your heart's content. You will hear sizzling. That's the juices from the teriyaki sauce, the vegetables themselves, and the meat. Got a piece right there needs to cook a little bit more. A piece right there needs to cook a little bit more. Sometimes you can just throw them on the side of the wok. That'll help them cook out. At this point, if you want to add extras, by all means do so. There's no time limit of when you can add extra seasoning. Do it to your heart's content, whatever you feel is appropriate to your taste and your likings. Again, I don't utilize measured items here for this. I just go by what I think looks right, and I take it from there. Let's see. We're going good. Not a problem. If you want to put the fan on over your stove, you can. I'm not doing it in this instance so that it doesn't drown out any audio effects. Make it too noisy from the background noise. Okay. If you're a steak lover, you will be surprised if you try this. If you utilize chicken, you will be surprised if you try this. I have not tried this in seafood, however. I am not a seafood cook. Don't pretend to be. I'm not going to try to be, because I do not want to waste good seafood on an experimental cause. My wife is a seafood connoisseur, so I do not want to waste good seafood trying to do something. Steak, I know how to cook. Chicken I can deal with. You may be able to get away trying this with a little bit of turkey. I haven't. Feel free, of course, if you want to give it a shot. Worst that can happen is you don't like it. Pick it out, use the veggies, throw something else in there. So here we go. I don't know if you can see this or not. Most of this meat is now cooked through and through. There's very little red that is standing out. Okay. So that's what we were shooting for, is to ensure that your steak, oh, there's a little bit of red. You want to ensure that your steak is cooked very well. If you have a little bit of red, you're not concerned about that. That's fine. Once again, as long as you don't have raw meat, pink meat, reddish meat, that's okay. There we go. Got a little pink in there. That's fine. Pink in there, it's fine. I only used 2 green onions, and they weren't very large. I have gone up to 5 when I wanted to make it a little oniony. Don't worry, you're not going to overpower your concoction with too many green onions. When you have cooked this to your desired amount, to your desired liking and coloring for the meat level, turn that puppy off. And you're done. The only thing that you had to have next is to throw out a little bit of rice. Put it, as I said, I do mine over the rice. You might want to do yours under the rice. Store it in a good container. Don't forget the juices, also a very important part, because that helps out the meal itself. And so, just to give you a final portion of it, trying to get some coloration here so you can see. Ding, ding, ding. Voila. That's the meal for the day. The veggie portion with a little bit of meat. Or you got a lot of meat with the veggie portion. Again, this is all up to you. It's whatever you like and desire. I wanted to do something different. Yes, there is a candidate that on top of doing the political thing, he is also a human being. He's also a person. And don't let anybody tell you that you don't matter, because each and every one of you do, though the pundits will tell you otherwise. So thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to throw up a fast meal here for you. I'm not going to do the rice thing for you. You guys can figure it out. 9 minutes into a pouch, pour it onto a plate, whammo bammo, there we go. But you can use, as I said, whatever rice that you use for your concoction. Put it over this meat ensemble, or put this over the rice, whichever one you choose. I hope it turns out good for you and that you like it. And hey, you know what? If you do like it, you can find me on X, Leo Naranjo IV. Give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, give me something to let me know that you at least watched, you at least tried, and one way or the other, it turned out good for you. From the Naranjo household, I wish each and every one of you a great afternoon, a wonderful day, a great week. I look forward to the convention coming up 5th, 6th, and 7th of September. And I keep bringing back to this chicken because here in Fair Oaks, California, we have a chicken festival on the 20th of September. I plan on being there. I hope to meet a lot of you folks there. You'll see me around on my shirt. Leo Naranjo, the 4th Republican candidate for governor. God bless. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your meal.